Hey everybody, Don here again, and welcome back to Ragged Edge Lure Works. Well, today I've got a special request that I'm painting up in an old familiar pattern. I got a bunch of these glide baits with the brush tail, and I'm going to paint them up in my perch pattern. My perch pattern has become so popular. This will be the 9th different lure body I've painted it on. And I really like these things. So let's get to painting. All right, so I'm going to paint 4 of these things up at the same time because these are well, 2 of these is going to a friend and the other 2 are going down to the trading post. But I also had my buddy John ask me if I had any walking baits, and so I'm going to paint this one at the same time, also in a perch pattern, but I probably won't show you that. Now, because these are already white, I'm not going to prime them, and I'm going to see how the paint goes onto this. Hopefully that's not a mistake. I do have to prime this one though, so I may prime one of those just to see. But because of this tail, I'm going to have to be extra cautious with every paint step because I don't want to get paint on the brush tail. So let's put on some primer on this one. All right, well, a little change of plans. Since I had to prime up this bait for John, I decided to try and prime one of these baits up. So this one I primed in white. This one is not primed. I'm going to see how this takes the paint for future reference. And I'm only going to paint 2 of these today, or at least this session. But just to make sure I realized which one was primed, I put a P on that. So yeah, let's see how this works out. If these didn't need to be primed, that would be great. But since I already primed that other one, I thought, well, shoot, we might as well prime one of them up and see how it works. So I'll get to painting here in just a second. All right, I mixed up a little pearl white, a little 4011, and a little 4030 balancing clear. I'm just going to do the bellies of these 2 glide baits. That's what these are. They're not really swim baits, they're glide baits. And I'm just going to do the bellies of these, keeping the direction away from the tail. Part way up the side. It's kind of flopping around in the breeze. All right, that's one. This is the one that was primed. That one was unprimed. Let's see if it makes any difference. All right, I mixed up some pearlized copper with some 4011 and some 4030. And this next step is going to be a little trickier, so I'm going to do it in 2 phases. Because I've got this tail I want to protect. I've got this little piece of stencil here. I'm going to cover that up and paint one side, and then I'll paint the other one, let that dry, and then I'll flip them over and do the same thing. So let's see how this comes out. And we're not going down too much below that fin because that's going to be the white belly. That looks pretty good. All right, we'll heat set that, flip them over, do the other side. All right, so I'm trying to tell the difference between this bait that was primed and this one that was unprimed, and I can't tell any difference. So that's good to know. That'll save me a step when I'm painting these white baits in the future. So next step. All right, for this next step, I put them back on the helping hands. I mixed up some detailed moss green, a little 4011, a little 4030, and now I'm just going to run down the back and off the sides, and I'm going to try to stay away from the tail at an angle like this. Hopefully I don't have to cover that up again, but let's see what happens. A little bit of splatter. My my wada is in the cleaner. All right, let's yeah, pretty good without getting any on the tail. Of course, the back will come back in and hit that with sepia. Let's give those a quick heat set and a second coat. All right, this next part is the fun part for me of painting this perch. I've put a little sepia on a paper plate here, and now I'm going to do the bars. And it's just a little freehand with this little sponge. Cut just a little bit off of that. And then just what I do, you've seen this before, but boom, 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 boom. Yeah, this piece of sponge might be a little, we'll see. All right, here we go. Starting with the front. And just kind of put a nice bar down. I'm going as far as the fins. I don't know if I'm going to paint these fins or not, but I think this will be a 5-bar perch. And this is a little bit wide, so I'm going to trim it back just because I'm not crazy about how wide it is. So just trim that back a little bit. And I'm going to put a couple little dots on the gills. Let's see. Bring that down. Yeah, let's make it a little more pointed. Cool. All right, let me heat set that, flip it over. And I like to make a mark on the top just so that I can make sure that these things are, oh, grabbed the wrong end. Just like my bars are in the same place on both sides. All right. A little wider at the top than at the bottom. A lot of people tell me that it's my bars. They think that's makes my perch pattern so different than anything that's, you know, commercial. That's a little wider at the top. All right, the next step, I've got the bars on all of them, so the next step is I'm just going to put a little sepia down the back and around the eyes. I mixed up a little sepia with just a little bit of reducer, and just for flow. I don't have to get too close to the tail, so I'm not covering that up. You want to blend in those bars at the top, but I don't want to obliterate. Oops, I don't want to obliterate the green. And then a little around the other eye. I think that's about it. We'll put a little orange on the belly and call these done. Let's give them a quick heat set. Okay, the last paint step, a little pearl tangerine, just a couple drops. So I'm just going to do right above the tail, right under the chin. I cover the tail with my finger. Under that chin. There you have it. All right, well, here's my first attempt at these 5-inch glide baits painted up in my Perch Pattern. And I gotta tell you, I love the way these things came out. And I think they're gonna sell, but more importantly, I think they're gonna catch fish. I'll be taking one out here soon and trying it out myself, so we'll see. Hey, thanks for coming along. We'll see you next time. Peace.